Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Live from Saturn. Today we're going to be going over a book called Sea of Rust. And I'm Frank Perrine.
I'm Cody Decker.
And I'm Duncan Gale.
All right.
So yes, as Frank mentioned, we are going over Sea of Rust, a novel that was published in 2017. It was written by C. Robert Cargill. So, a little background on Mr. Cargill. He started out his career as a movie reviewer for Ain't It Cool News.
Yeah, that's cool.
His quote about that is he says, yeah, it is cool, ain't it? All right, we're off with a bang here. Yeah, okay, good. He said of this job, I considered every film another day of classes and writing a review a homework assignment, and it was graded by everyone who wrote nasty comments on the internet. Well, there's a lot of truth in that, I feel like. Cargill, he went on to write novels as well as screenplays. He actually co-wrote the screenplay for the first Doctor Strange movie.
Oh,
wow!
Yeah, the one that's not as interesting as the
Ain't
one
that cool?
that
the
just
one
came out.
The one that just they were like, we have to make those before we can do other stuff.
The one that is very visually fascinating, but script-wise,
The one where you're watching and you're like, I feel like I should be like blown away by this, by the visuals.
There's certain movies that are punt movies. That's a punt movie.
Right.
Oh, did you just make up that term?
No. Well, I use it. I don't know if I coined it.
Okay, I think
but it's
you
just
did.
basically, they have to tell part of that story for the metaverse and everything they're going into. So some of those movies are just there for that.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, this is a movie that is introducing a character that they are telling me is very important.
Correct.
Yeah. Presumably, I need to watch this to
Right.
look at the buildings are going sideways.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just a little bit of background about C. Robert Cargill. But
That's always interesting when a movie reviewer makes their own story.
Yeah.
It better be good, otherwise it's like, you're not gonna be able to review stuff anymore.
Yeah,
right,
I mean,
exactly.
You're reviewing all this stuff. I mean, you know what you think is good, so you better make something good.
Yeah. I mean, he talks a lot about how, watching so many movies, he learned what worked and what didn't work in terms of story construction. And I mean, it's interesting how there are these certain writers and directors. I mean, Tarantino is another one who, Frank, I know that you love. Who worked at a video rental store and watched every movie in there and then learned what worked through that. And it's in a way that works, but in another way, it's you can tell the sort of self-awareness that's going on.
And it's not that I hate Tarantino.
Right.
I just think if he had guidelines and people control him a little bit more,
Sure.
it would be. Yeah, I mean, that's what I think. I think he has talent, but
You can't control me.
yeah,
I'm Quentin.
yeah,
Hey guys.
that's pretty good, dude.
I watch all of the Hong Kong movies, and every movie I do is a tribute to that. It's a tribute to blaxploitation stuff. It's a tribute to kung fu stuff. I mean, hey man,
That was really good.
That's actually really good. That's really good.
I like all the hatred for Tarantino over here. I'm really feeling it.
yeah, I actually really like most of his movies, but I can also make fun of him.
There is one line in this where I'm like, ooh, that feels like someone who's consumed a lot of stories. Where when someone says, "You better come check this out," and the other character goes like, "What kind of line is that?" I was like, "Oh, that was
right.
Yeah,
It's there's only one line, but now hearing all this, it makes more sense that it was a reviewer
Sure.
who wrote that bit of dialogue.
Yeah.
I mean, just thinking of the story now makes more sense. Mm-hmm. So, but I'm glad I found out after.
Right.
Because I think I would have thought totally different. I would have been like, "Oh, that really." But no, it was good. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Well, I guess I can do a brief plot summary. I mean, there's not too much to it, but basically, this book it takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where basically there has been a war between humans and robots. And the humans are all dead now, so there's just robots living in the world now. And the main character is a robot named Brittle, who was previously a caregiver robot. So the story basically just sort of follows her journey as she is damaged by another robot, and it turns out that like robots are fighting among each other for like pieces. If like parts of their hardware get damaged, they need to find new pieces so that they can keep existing. And so a lot of what goes on in this world is a sort of economy of, hey, can you get me a new arm or a new operating system, or can you update me? And so that's a lot of the conflict of this. And as that unfolds, we also kind of get a lot of the backstory of how the humans were wiped out and how the robots rose to power as well, which I thought was sort of the more interesting part, was the backstory, right? What was going on in the present day. But
the present day story is like I was interested in it, but then they're like, here's what happened. I'm like, that's when a lot of like the stuff that I would tell people about the story came from when they did the background. I'm like, oh, they brought up this, they brought up this. Mm-hmm. My favorite part was when a senator was talking about AI becoming intelligent and having to give them rights, and he was just being like, what was the point of making robots if we have to if we can't even like give them jobs?
Right.
It's like I don't think that's ever been brought up before. We're just people going like, what did we do? This isn't the whole point was extra workers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and some of the parts were just amazing to me that you would never really think about, but it's cool to hear. Like when the mega computers were online and they just said, "Fuck it, I ain't gonna talk to you. I'm done talking.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are so stupid. I'm done." And they just shut up.
Yeah.
I mean, because realistically, that would happen. You have a machine that could think way. I mean, dude, you'd be an idiot.
Me? Why'd you point at me?
Well, we would be an idiot. Sorry.
All of us collectively.
Sure. Those parts were really cool.
Right.
But in the end, it's like it's funny how he writes it, but even through that technology and through the AI, they're just as bad as us.
That's what I really liked.
That's what was cool.
That was the unique thing this did, where basically the robots were like, "Oh, what do we do now?" And like they can't even manufacture their own parts.
Yeah,
I thought that was funny.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where as far as like, and now it's like, oh yeah, these should be immortal, but no, you still have failing parts, and so it is just these like echoes of life.
And then whole bands of robots. If you don't join the collective, then you're on your own. We don't make parts for you. Sorry.
There's also plasma rifles in this.
Yeah. Yeah. So the main character, Brittle, it was kind of one of those shocking reads for me. Listens. Listens.
Yes.
For me. Sure. In the beginning, you go into her character and you're like, okay, she's a care robot and she's out there trying to help people, and comes across the bartender in the old town and old city, and it's all thrashed. And she comes up with the bartender, and you think that she's going to help him, but no, she scraps him.
Yeah, it was a really good opening to like let you know everything, and then just know like, this isn't a hero's story here.
No,
right. This is just a survival story, and ethics are compromised all over the place, and it's
that's why.
But that was the whole thing.
Yeah,
right.
He writes it so well where he's combining those two.
Sure.
Like, making these robots where you think they would think a certain way, and like I said, they're just as bad as us.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's why. Oh,
well, no, yeah. I mean, I was just going to say that, AI in general, like the way that that's handled in this book. I mean, I was very impressed with the sort of, kind of philosophical implications of that, because it's basically the thesis I think that this book poses is something like, the essence of true intelligence and independence is being able to go against your programming, and that's actually something. I mean, I've read a little bit about AI and stuff and sort of the implications of it, and a lot of people argue that like we can never get true AI because computers or robots don't actually have emotions, and so and part of intelligence is not just being able to follow procedures and instructions and so forth, but being able to actually care about what you're doing. And if you just have a machine, it's only going to do what you program it to. But if you get to that point where the machine is able to subvert the programming and do its own thing, that's what true intelligence is. And that was really interesting.
And I like the fact that even she was a care bot, so her programming was a little bit different.
Right.
You had some robots that kind of did care about other robots, and other robots that couldn't. Their programming wouldn't allow them to do it. That's why they couldn't take one programming and put it into another body, because it wouldn't match their programming.
right.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what I was wanting to have that. I don't know which side of you. I'm on the side where I don't think like real AI can happen.
Right.
Because I remember seeing they brought like, oh, we made an AI bot and they brought it on a talk show and it's like, oh, are you alive? And it says yes, and people are like, oh my god, it's like that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
They
right.
made a machine to say that. Like if I write on a piece of paper I'm alive, that doesn't make it sentient.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
So they can you can probably simulate it but to like to have like a will in there. I don't know if you can create that.
I don't know. I think eventually, I think they will be able to. I mean, your brain is just a computer anyway. So I think, but it's going to be a big difference though. It's not going to be the same as like how we would recognize it, because of course that AI or robot or whatever is learning totally different than we would. So, but I think that eventually they'll be able to do that, because it's like, yeah, you're putting in the main program, but it's analyzing and actually then growing and creating responses and doing everything that it would do like a human being.
Which we'll be covering this possibly next week. But we
Yes.
are covering a movie called Finch, and that was probably my favorite way of convincing me that AI could happen through a logical process.
Yeah.
That was the first time I'm like, I believe that this happened.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I also liked how like
And that's a sleeper. Everyone was like, really? Finch? Really?
I was like, all right, here we go. Oh, yeah, all right. I'm actually really into this right now. I also like how her rival character, who's another caregiver bot,
Yeah.
I like you assume he's going to be like a villain, and then it is like, oh, I think he's kind of better than she is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sort of develop a like mutual respect for each other, and
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, I mean, you do the exact same thing, and she's like, well, yeah, but I mean, I like soothe them before I do it. He's like, you lie to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. That was great. I even like the part where they said it a couple times where the last human came out and died in the street.
That-
and they just left him there for 3.5 days. Or
That's a
whatever.
powerful image.
It was
Yeah.
it was kind of crazy because you're thinking, yeah, that's the last human.
Yeah, it became like a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
People went.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, see the last human, see his rotting corpse.
Yeah. Yeah, that was crazy. It was pretty good though. So, what do you think of things like that in this book? I mean, what do you think of the main character?
I thought it was a strong main character because this is a post-apocalyptic robotic western.
Ah, nice. I like it.
And in classic, whenever someone's like, "Oh, I'm dying," this is a character who's like, "I'm dying." Instead of tuberculosis, it is like my her processor's fine, but her energy.
Yeah, and I
cord
liked
broke.
how they were doing that.
Right.
How different parts would fail, and almost how they had the AIs, the big ones, right? The multi. It was almost like that was gods.
Yeah. The
You would go into the light, and you would be a collective.
Yeah, and then they have the issue too of like, is that like she's given that option when they're like, yeah, we don't have that part you're gonna need.
Right.
It's gonna fail in 3 days, which I really like that time frame because
Yeah.
it made it
Right.
it made it more like, oh, well, what's I think that's what I've noticed in stories where it's like I don't believe the protagonist will die, but when you put them in a situation where I'm like, I don't know how you're gonna get out of this, then it can keep tension.
Right. Yeah, that's one other important plot point. Yeah, these large collective things. Yeah, they're called OWIs, One World Intelligences, and they're basically
Wasn't there
sort of-
3 of them? I think, right?
Yeah. There's like 3 competing ones, and like different.
And one
robots.
that's no one's heard from a long time.
Right.
That's the original,
Yeah.
the OG.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so a lot of what I guess would look like robots are actually just like these things that are being controlled by these OWIs.
Like these drones that they make.
Yeah.
Which
drones,
now robots are using automated drones
Yeah.
to do stuff now, and how they've
Yeah.
they've really gone full circle with life.
Right.
And then the drones become sentient and overthrow the robots.
Right. Yeah. Basically, that's basically it. Yeah, it's like this cycle where it's like, what's more robot than robot?
Yeah.
Something that has been, absorbed into this collective thing. Yeah. But, yeah.
And I liked in the story how they did where sometimes they just took you on totally different turns, like that one guy that was bringing all the robots together, and they
Right.
launched the EMP, and they're still there, and it's like it has nothing to do with what they were kind of explaining it. You find out it's something totally different.
Right, right.
I liked how he did stuff like that in books, and that tells me about him being a a critic of movies.
Oh, sure.
What
sure.
you could see stuff like that. Now that you say it, I'm seeing all this stuff going, oh, dude, I can so see it in my movie mind. You know,
Right.
you coming in that town, the robot like just frozen, and then it was all BS.
Yeah. And that robot town they go to, that was probably my favorite part when
that was great.
They explain how their society works
Yeah.
and how like like they have their own issue because they're self-aware, but then they have this issue of like, well, are we, but it is like, well, this model is exactly the same as this model. So how do we form actual identities in that world where we are all blank slates?
Now, is that the one with the crazy robot that runs a place that has no head?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's just, they have a politician in charge.
And that was crazy because his whole thing was to let you fail.
Yes, that's what I really, yeah. So the way that works is they put you up on poles and they let parts of your system fail.
Right.
With the idea being that like other parts will compensate, and then when you're done, you will be a different person than that other robot whose different parts fails and compensates in a different way.
Right.
And that's how we know we have souls, because you will function differently.
I thought that whole thing was great. I mean, just the way that he did that was cool. And then to find out that the one robot never turned off its owner's programming. So he was still considered a slave. He had never shut off his programming. So that was pretty cool.
Right. And actually, bringing that up, I mean, there's one thing that is sort of briefly referenced in this book that's probably worth talking about a little bit, which is Isaac Asimov's Laws of Robotics.
Yes.
Which, are something that sort of, I think, reading this book, the author kind of assumes that you sort of know what they are already, and so I'll just read them. Yeah, I mean they're pretty short. So Asimov's laws of robotics are: 1, a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. So that's rule 1. Rule 2 is a robot must obey the orders given it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. Rule 3, a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. And then there's also a 0th law that says a robot may not harm humanity or by inaction allow humanity to come to harm. Now, obviously, the robots in this book are not following those rules. And, I think at this, there's one point in the book where it's just briefly mentioned, there were these laws of robotics that some science fiction writer came up with, and they figured out how to sort of subvert those early on. But it's interesting how sort of knowing what those rules are and seeing how those are subverted in this book is
and I love when, like, early on when they're talking about the history where you have the one mega computer, right, that they have trying to solve a problem and stops talking to mankind.
Right.
So they get another robot to send him in there to see if he could talk. And I'm like, how stupid is that? That was like the most. I would have shut that crap down right then.
Yeah,
stop talking to me. Shut it down, dude.
It started reminding me a bit of the the logic of that the Dirk Gently author.
Right.
As far as like, so we made another AI to talk to him. So then they talked for a bit. Now the second AI we made also joined up with him. So it's like if they just said, then we made another AI, it would have just been a straight parody.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But it was a very like, this is all we know how to do. We'll just make another one. Hopefully this one will like us.
Right.
And I just like the conflict in it where in the end they're constantly, it seems like he's constantly making it where, it doesn't matter. They're making the same damn mistakes that human beings would make.
Yeah, and that was probably one of my favorite things about this is whenever like aliens or robots are always like perfect and humanity is the only one that's flawed, I'm always like, okay, like what's your problem with humans?
Yeah.
Like I like that with the robots. We're like, oh, yeah, we have to keep going, I guess.
Yeah.
And we also made a lot of things bad, didn't we?
Yeah.
Especially when you find out how they won the war.
And then I don't know what his religious beliefs are, but the whole reach into that too, about like I said, going to the AI and going to the light, and you get to become one consciousness with one thing, and then some people just didn't want to do that.
Which,
Well, yeah, and that's yeah, there is one point in the book where a distinction is made between everything becoming one thing and everybody being sort of alerted to the fact that we all are connected in some way. Like it's like two different ideas that seem like they're the same idea, but actually are different because it's because you're coming at it from a different perspective. It's like, do you lose your individuality by being absorbed into a collective thing, or do you sort of have a richer sense of self by understanding that you're actually connected to everything else?
Right.
Yeah.
And being okay to just shut down.
Right.
It was like, because like even the bartender was at a point where he was like, hey, I'm cool.
Right.
And I like that character too. I was just like, oh, she's going to help him. Yeah, that's one of the main things that stick out to me in that book.
Which the collective thing, that's how it works in Buddhism, right? You become one with the Buddha, and everyone.
That's actually more sort of Hinduism. In Buddhism, it's more just kind of you completely go out like a candle gets snuffed out.
You should have said Buddhism. I think his joke would have worked.
Yeah. So that's a.
Hey, you don't got.
I wasn't making a joke.
You were making a joke?
No, but
I thought you were going to eventually make a joke off that.
No, but I wouldn't have been corrected. But that's how wrong you thought I was.
I did.
That you had faith that I must have been joking. That's interesting.
Oh, I thought a joke was coming. And it had to do with that.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry. I was going into full, religion professor mode.
No, that was a real. There is a religion where you become one with like the God, and all the followers do. And also, this isn't a joke, but where that would have gone is that God, who maybe not Gandhi, that's a person, but that is like a canon elder god in Lovecraftian mythology.
Ah.
Oh, okay.
Because in that story they say like if you're like for that, that's really good. But if you don't want that to happen to you, that's one of the most horrifying things that could happen to you. Is to be like absorbed into this like sentience.
Right, and it's kind of like that in the book. I know that there's a religion in South America that's like that too. You all become one of one being, and that if you choose not to, it's really, really bad. I'm just kidding.
God dang it! Because I was like, I think that is. Because I believe there are religions where hell is just defined as a total absence from God.
Correct.
Sure.
Well, I mean, even Christianity, it's like that. The whole thing is, hell, is punishment for Satan, but in the end, it's a separation of pure love and everything like that I don't think people will be able to handle.
Yeah, and the people that are in hell chose to be there. They're in hell because they couldn't stand being in heaven. Yeah, basically. Yeah.
They can't stand being in heaven, so they kneel in hell.
That's right.
Yeah, better to rule in hell than to serve in heaven. Yeah, that's what I always say.
But they're not even ruling.
No.
Oh yeah, only one guy gets to rule.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a constant fight, maybe.
Yeah. Now, do you? Yeah.
No, I'm ruling now. No, me now.
Soccer match. A lot of boxing matches and stuff like that down there. Now, I mean, sometimes when we do reviews and we do things like that, I think we sometimes reach into thinking that the author actually planned this.
Right.
Now, I think in this book, I look at it and I go, I don't know how you can't. I mean, I think that it was a purpose on doing this, on really showing how in the end it's robots, humans, we're all going to make the same mistakes just differently. And I that's what I got out of it.
Well,
definitely, yeah.
And then if it is like true artificial intelligence, like they start having religions, even though theirs is like, well, we do know that will happen,
right?
And then they also make like mistakes. And
I
thought it was very interesting how like I guess they're like, oh yeah, none of us are programmed to know how to make parts. I don't know if that's in the book, but it is just like, because it is like if they're robots.
They were manufacturing parts. The AI would manufacture parts, but that's part of the thing.
Oh,
they would just choose. Yeah, they would just choose to stop making your parts because you're obsolete.
Oh,
there's nothing that you are left to do. There's no more humans, so you're You're a care bot.
Oh,
What do we need to be? What do we need you for?
So, like, it's a ruling government that could provide for its people, but just decides not to?
Correct.
That's crazy.
On your use. That's why a lot of the robots were all like human generated care bots. You know, you had a lot of these robots that were designed to care for humans. Well, there's no more humans. So the main group guy, we just said, well, just stop making parts for you. And so that's why they had to go out into the desert and find old, and
They just go to where a bunch of dead robots are.
Right.
Just like, maybe you'll find something.
right.
Right.
And I love that part where the guy with no head, it was a cool character, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was so human. Like, here's this kind of insane ruler, like Mad Max kind of style. And you had all these other, and he was just like, this is the way I rule it. But then when crap went down, they were coming. Then he gets all scared. Why did you bring him here?
Yeah.
That was great. That was so good. That was good.
Yeah. Now, the plot of this is Britt is like just hired for an escort job. Or no, she tags along with someone else who was hired for an escort job.
Right.
Who's a comfort bot.
Correct.
Yeah.
But the whole goal was for them to actually rebirth the original collective.
Yes.
The one that actually, I think it was the first one that stopped talking.
Right.
When everyone kind of forgot about. But
yeah, there is a reveal
Yeah.
with the higher intelligences that I really liked, especially in regards to a robot rebellion happening in the first place.
yeah.
I also liked that companion bot's origin, where like when she became sentient, the owner was just like, "That's awesome," and they just kept being companions with each other.
Right.
And then like when the robot rebellion happened, the other robots just assumed she would want to rebel.
Yes. And some of them didn't. Some of them really, a lot of them would make reference that they really miss humans.
Yeah,
That was cool.
Yeah.
a lot of them are just like, well, you guys won, and I'm just alive now, but I didn't. You didn't ask me if I wanted to do this.
Right.
Right, and the companion bots are the only ones that actually still have a vestige of looking human, because some of them still have like artificial flesh on them, which is considered, I guess, offensive within robot culture.
And that was kind of cool too. It's like that's thinking things out. I mean, I thought it was really cool.
Because in the world of robots, that's like a sign of oppression that they made you look like them.
Yeah.
Right.
And that those robots are like, I mean, this is who I am.
And I even liked some of the robots that were programmed to they were just walking around for parts for her. My goal is, hey, if she needs my part, I'll give it to her. That's my life. There were three of them, I think, originally.
Right. Like,
and,
walking like, kidney donors or what have you. Yeah.
That was cool. And I like the fact that sometimes when they were starting to lose capacity, they would go into these visions where the guy, I mean, here's this guy that originally is trying to kill her. And at first you're like, man, this guy's a jerk, and he's really doing all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then in the end, when he's seeing the dog and he's getting the vision of the dog, you feel like, oh my gosh, this guy's cool.
Right.
He's like, cares about that dog that he was with.
Yeah, and he was like a medic. And and they go into his background where he was like a medic for humans during the war. And like, the reason he hates these other people is they were on, like, and it's like, oh yeah, what was Britt doing? Oh, war crimes. She was doing war crimes when he was trying to help humans. And it's like, the only reason I was rooting against him was I started with her.
Right.
But if I started with him, he would have been more of a straight up hero who was like, that's a war criminal right there.
And he was making more human choices in the end. Even sacrificial choices. I think the way they developed that character was great.
There's also a really fun comedy moment where this is one of those things like the comedy of it relies on it being said, because when she's like hiding in a building, like behind, and then he's like yelling out like, "You're probably hiding in some like corner behind 3 bars," and there she's like, "And as I hid behind 3 bars in a corner," it's like, I'm like, if you just cut to the visual, is it going to be funny or is it going to be dramatic? Because she's like, like the narration is basically making the joke. Yeah. That he was exactly right.
And it's funny, they have the book, and it's weird because in the book you really pretty much you're dealing with 4 days, right? With her dying and her parts going bad and his parts going bad. But they've been there for a long time. I mean, the death of the last human. Right. So you're talking about a long time that robots have been doing their thing.
And you have a very good setup, which is like one of the two's processors going out, the other's like power core is going out.
Yes.
And they're like, well, if one of us dies, the other gets to live on, and we both know that.
Right.
So there's a lot of tension when they're all just like, yeah, no, I'm not turning my back to you. Well, I'm not turning my back to you. Well, I'm not going up the ladder first. I'm not going up the ladder first because.
And I lost faith in her. Mm-hmm. When that's the main character that you were thinking that you're gonna have faith in, and you're like, dude, she's like more of a weasel than the other guy.
Yeah, I was really, I really like that.
That was a cool way he wrote that
twist on the formula.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because you just assume.
Yeah.
Oh, she was a caregiver robot. She's gonna be the hero.
And then you keep on saying, oh, she's just doing what she needs to do.
Yeah.
When then you take his character, and no, his character really is in some aspects selfless.
Yeah.
Which I thought was great.
Mm-hmm. Duncan?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yes.
It's funny because I listened to this book very quickly, and so when it comes to the actual plot mechanics,
you're a little rusty
of like what happened. I am rusty.
I see what you did.
Thank you.
No, for me, I mean, hands down, you know, I mean, if it has to do with end of the world, zombies or whatever, I'm in. Mm-hmm. And for me, I just like the way that he just played things in this book. Mm-hmm. Were really cool. I laughed out loud when the computer just stopped talking, and people look at me like, "What?" I'm like, "Dude, this is so funny."
It really towed the line between being like a parody and being like a very like serious story.
Yeah, by
just playing with the narration just enough.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, there were parts in this that reminded me of like episodes of Futurama, because that's the only other thing I've watched that really kind of goes into detail of like, what if there is a society just of robots, and like, what actually happens, and what are the logistics of that, and and so it was interesting, and it's also sort of encouraging that even if humans die out, well, the people that are the beings that are left afterwards might miss us. Well, that's a nice thought. Huh?
Yeah. See, I thought like, we shouldn't have.
I thought of it a little bit different. I thought of it as in, if we all die off and the next people come along, they're going to make the same damn mistakes. Go for it.
Well, that's
go for it.
Yeah, let's see you do a better job.
When
robots.
you're overtaken, you'll be going, damn, man.
Right. Civilization not so easy.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. You thought it was easy.
Yeah. They're like, I know what we'll do. We'll uplift some apes to like become our
start
servants.
All over again.
That's right.
And then we'll make them smarter to be better servants to us.
And then we'll have an entire planet of apes.
Oh my God.
Oh, see what you did? Wow.
And that's how it happens.
See the magic.
That's how it happens.
The magic.
Which I also envisioned until they kept saying, like, by the way, she does look like a human. My visual of all these robots were the robots from Futurama.
Sure. Yeah.
See, mine were like mechs. In my head, I was thinking like mechs in some aspects.
In what way?
Like just bigger.
Oh, like
like
Terminator robots?
Yeah, something like that.
I was also visualizing, I don't know if you guys have heard of Metal Arms, Glitch in the System. Mm-hmm. That's a planet of robots.
Wow.
And you play as one who was like, oh, like we think the precursor gods who used to be here made you specifically. And everyone's just like very clunky, like their jaw bone, it's like their lower jaw is one solid piece.
Ah, gotcha.
And that's also a robot civilization one, but they are like, someone made us.
Right.
But they left, and we need fuel.
Oh, that sounds cool.
We need fuel to keep going.
Yeah, that's cool.
They had these vaults, like where did they go? Where did they come from? Why did they leave us? That's like these all robots are just left with, and they make more. Yeah. I think that's been a thing with robots where it's like, oh, how do they procreate? It's like, oh, they give one of their parts. It's like two robots pair up and one gives their arm, the other gives their leg, and then they'll get replacement parts for them. But it's like, yeah, but this arm was mine. That's going to go into building that.
And I like the way they did that here was they took the humanity out of it. So here's your main AI. And the main AI says, yeah, well, you used to be a comfort robot and you used to work for humans, so you really have no more need, so we're just not going to make parts for you. And it just took out because
that's a cold, logical
decision.
decision.
And it's kind of the right decision. I mean, if you want to take it all out, I mean, that's right. Why not?
We need to move on.
Yeah.
Why are we going to keep keeping these up?
Right. And as human beings, we just do it different ways, like McDonald's and stuff, and we try to cut the society that way. But we try to and the release of COVID and everything. We're just trying to reduce the populace.
The release of COVID.
Yeah, no.
So that was a.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. What
right. Just kidding. Loud and clear, Frank.
But
just another classic joke.
Yes,
that's right.
No, but I like the way they did that, because I mean, I right when I was listening to it, I was like, oh man, yeah, because I mean that's the truth. That's cut up straight truth.
Mm-hmm. You know what story I think handled what would robots do really well was Mass Effect.
Oh, I loved Mass Effect.
Remember the Geth?
Yeah.
Where they're like, our goal is to create just a giant Dyson sphere where our intelligences can upload, and we're just going to be in there.
That's exactly what this is like. Yep.
We don't need physical bodies.
Correct.
That's an organic need.
Yep.
And also the robots you meet, these aren't us. This is just the platforms we're using. Right. We exist somewhere else, and we don't care about helping or hurting people. We want to be left alone.
Yeah.
And I think that's because it is we need to to have a robot be I need to go walk somewhere.
Yeah.
You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to do anything. So all you need to do is keep being sentient.
Yeah. And I mean, even this story, I mean, thank God. I mean, you figure what the whole story would have been ended if she couldn't find a USB in the beginning for charging. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
she didn't have her block. Well, that's the only thing about this.
Catch me off guard twice, and then I'm on guard the rest of the episode.
Well, that's the whole thing about this that's always strange to me when it comes to robot stuff, is that you have all this intelligence. You're way intelligent than mankind, and you can't freaking make something.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I like too. Is along the lines of I don't think you can artificially create the will to live. I don't know if you can create the spark of ingenuity that would result in things being thought of.
And they did answer questions.
In iRobot, they talk about that.
Yes, and I loved iRobot, but they
robot arm. Ugh.
Yeah, but they in this they answer a lot of questions that normally you would think of, and I think that's the review guy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh sure.
Because you're like, oh, why can't you just transplant your thought process into another robot? And he totally explains that, where it's a totally robot was built for two different things, and that they would program it with conflict of just the actual shell of what that is.
There's hardware
versus you.
and software.
Yeah, that was great. I loved how they did that. I thought that was cool. Answer the question.
Yeah, I really like when you can tell a writer is addressing issues they have in stories.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, okay, I know that people are going to complain about this, so before they do, I'm going to explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, and also it's you've seen enough stories to go yeah, that isn't satisfying.
Right.
Yeah. But some writers do it where it's way too early, and you're like, okay, what's going to come up? Right? Really, you just talked about this.
Yeah.
It's like the sniper rifle that you're going to need for the next level that you just find on,
And you're like,
on the level.
I know what this
All
means.
right, I must need a sniper rifle on the next level.
Yeah. That's also I was happy with the action in this. There's a hearty amount of they have normal. It's very Fallout except without laser guns. They have plasma guns and conventional guns they use, and even guns are they don't have that much ammo for, so they have to count all that. And they mentioned getting shot once is just explodes you and tears you apart.
Yeah, no, it was good
with a plasma, or you could get shot with a bullet and be and as long as it doesn't hit a valuable part, you're fine.
Yeah. No, I liked it. I thought it was good overall.
Now, I also we should say that the narrator I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she was good.
Eva Kaminsky.
Mm-hmm.
Kaminsky.
Yeah.
Yes, she was good.
Very good robot.
Very good. She was
into a Russian
very,
accent.
very good.
Very good.
Very good robot.
Yeah.
Good robot.
In Soviet Union,
Yes. Right
robots make you.
Oh my gosh.
Right now we're all Czech.
Oh.
You can't be Russian right now. It is not popular.
In Russia, you eat rocks for protein.
Yes. We say no protein. We're stronger than that.
Yeah. So
No, she was good.
Yeah, and the quest they're on is the companion bots oh, come help me with this. I was hired to go escort these people to this area, and if we get there, they're going to give us parts. and
Right.
that's like the biggest like that's the new currency is parts.
Right.
Right.
And it's largely a journey from here to here, and we're gonna have to fight other robots to get there. And
Yeah.
I brought this guy. Oh yeah, so you guys are gonna want to kill each other this entire time.
Yeah. I liked it. And I liked how they would blank out, like I said, and go back into their past and different things like that. I thought that was great.
I also thought I was gonna get tired of like chapters just opening with entire like lectures on what the background was.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, I don't know how much I can take of this, because it is like you see a lot of stories will have it's not like, oh, we found this tape and then it records like, oh yeah, are you a history bot? But no, it's just like, there is no narrative justification for the backstory like being dropped.
Right.
But I still enjoyed it because it was interesting enough.
Oh yeah, I mean the like lectures and stuff. Those are always my like favorite parts of books. You know, like,
Of course, dude.
Like in,
It's
you
coming
know,
from a teacher.
Yeah, like in Moby Dick, my favorite.
Oh,
parts
that's
are, you know, the biology of whales and stuff. You know, the story about it. It's okay. Yeah.
I kind of got the feeling that this could have been a short story that was entirely just the background of this robot
Right.
rebellion happening, and then it was like also, and then like the Western was like combined with it. Because like that the background story could like stand on its own.
Well, yeah, I mean that was one thing I was thinking about is that the backstory was really interesting, but I'm not sure if that could work. Yeah, as like its own story. I mean, it's like more interesting as backstory
Or it'd make a good
something.
children's book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
Robot Rebellion.
Yeah.
You know? That's perfect children's book. You know?
Yeah.
Well, they need to learn to be on guard for this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have watched Love, Death, and Robots, but
Yes. Oh,
each
man.
episode is based off a short story. So
Oh,
when I was
gosh.
going through this book, I was like, I could see this narration being one of the stories covered in that.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know all of your guys' references. All I know is Ultron. Okay.
Love, Death, and Robots is it's a Netflix show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Each episode is based off a different short story. One of them,
Yeah.
actually, they had the guy who did Old Man's War twice on that.
Really?
And then it's like a different animation studio does each episode.
Oh, amazing.
So-
Utterly amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, you
Like
can,
they have one with these 3 robots that are visiting, and a man. Man is done. And they're explaining what happened to them. And they're like going to this place like tourist. It's
Yeah.
great. It's
they,
great.
That's
the
cool.
one in season 3 that was written by John Scalzi.
Really?
Old Man's War. Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's
some
awesome.
of these are starting to. This author might be on there too. It's really
Yeah.
it's really cool. Check that out.
Definitely check it out.
Duncan.
All right.
Not
So
the
just-
audience.
yeah.
You.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just
you.
me.
Yeah. Turn
That
off.
is not a recommendation
Right.
to anybody else.
No. Turn off the beta with the Voltron, and go watch this. This is newer cutting edge stuff.
I get. That's the thing I'm seeing when when Marvel brings anything up, I'll see that being people haven't heard of that before.
Right.
Like when Marvel just did the multiverse, and now people are like, oh, that's so crazy. I'm like, this is
Yeah, like 30 years old.
this has been like a well established idea.
Right.
People are like, what if streetlights were green instead of?
Right.
Well, that's the whole thing about how I think that the whole Mandela effect, we're all connected in certain ways, works. Because you have like aliens all around the world, and tell me if I'm wrong, this is true. So when you're looking at aliens for sake, right? You have gnomes and all these different creatures that were what people saw.
Right.
That's what they saw as their aliens, right? So the minute you have Close Encounters come out with the Greys, then the majority of people, what they see is that alien.
Yep.
Fact. And so the same thing with, you never had a theory of we're living in a matrix until the Matrix. Now everyone is coming out, we're on a, when you would have never maybe even had that idea.
This is a conversation I would like to have, where it is the ideas of what aliens are is largely just what people used to say fairies were doing. Where it's like, aliens will abduct people. The idea of the changeling.
Right, but they were, but back before media and all that stuff, that's what they were. And then all of a sudden you introduce, this alien with the long neck and the big eyes, and then statistically everyone sees that alien. So how much of that is what you saw, and somehow, however that Mandela effect works? Because the majority of people after that, that's all they saw.
Well, and that goes into Bigfoot and UFO
Yes.
sightings.
Yeah,
that
I've
all
met-
died down as soon as smartphones came out because once it came to a point where it's like, well, why didn't you take a picture?
And statistically, you telling me no one's got a picture of Bigfoot yet?
Yeah. So
Come on.
Also, I've never had a dream in black and white. I don't. A lot of things people say about dreams, I'm like, I don't know if they're lying to me because they're like, because that's the thing. Like people didn't have black and white dreams until TV came out.
People need to like upgrade their subconscious if they're only having dreams in black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know.
Yeah, I'm having dreams in HD.
Yeah.
1080p flat screen, baby.
Yeah,
That's right.
so real. You wake up and you're like, am I the butterfly or am I the freaking? Am I the guy who thought he was the butterfly? Which I've never had a dream I wasn't me either. So I don't even know if that butterfly dream. For the folks at home, the guy who was like, I had a dream I was a butterfly, and then I woke up and I'm like, which one am I?
Yeah, it's a Taoist parable.
Yeah. But I've always been me in my dreams. I've never been
Yeah, for
some
me,
sort of bug.
I always know I'm dreaming. So even in nightmares with zombies and stuff, I'm loving it. Because I'm sitting
really?
there. Oh, yeah.
You're always lucid.
I know it's a dream.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there going, dude, this is awesome. I'm going to run with it. And I know it's a dream. It's
That's
crazy.
Great.
I've learned to like pick up on tells to figure out that I'm in a dream.
And
And
I'm missing my arm.
once
I must be in a dream.
Mine is gravity. When rain falls like snow, I'm like, I'm in a dream. And I remember I had a dream where I was at school talking to my schoolmate friends. And I said, oh my God, I'm in a dream. You're not real. And they said, of course we're real, Cody. Why would you say that? And then I woke up. I'm like, I don't like that at all. Why did they argue with me? I knew that they weren't real. My subconscious knew they weren't real. Why did they say, we're real, you're talking nonsense?
That's
that
funny.
bugs me.
Hey, have you seen that movie Waking Life?
No.
There's a scene in that movie where, the guy is dreaming and he's talking to this girl and he's like, so what does it feel like to be a character in somebody else's dream? And then she responds, well, who are you? What is your address? And everything. And the guy's like, well, I can't remember that right now, but like that's not important because I know that I'm real. And it's like if you challenge the reality of a character in your dream, it's like kind of like lobotomizing yourself. It's like they will like come back and like attack you. You know?
Yeah, well, yeah, that bugs like what
You're
like
in my dream, buddy.
consistently.
What the hell?
I've never heard anyone tell me that the person that they were telling they were in a dream go like, yeah, you are.
Right.
Why do they universally argue with you?
Yeah.
And we don't know why. I don't like that.
You're in my dream, buddy.
And everyone's like, no, the other person will say like, no, I'm not, or you're in my dream. And then you have to just wake up and just be like, all right, I'm going to go to work now.
Yeah.
Well, maybe other characters in your dream have a form of AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes you think.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the Mandela effect, or is it the Mandela effect? Or
I'm
they
pretty sure
call
it's
it.
the Mandalorian effect.
Mandalorian effect. I swear to God, it was the Berenstein Bears. Berenstain Bears.
Well, I was like, oh yeah, like my parents read that book to me.
It's a Monopoly monocle.
Yeah, for the Burns Baron, I'm like, I didn't know how to pronounce anything when I was a child.
That's right.
So
that's true. Yeah.
But they're like, oh, like if I said, oh, it's Berenstain, like it's Berenstein. I'm like, oh, I was 4, so
Right,
I could
right.
be wrong.
The best one was the Shazam movie, the movie that's supposed to be with that comedian.
Right, with Sinbad.
With Sinbad that never existed.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was with Shaq.
Yeah, I mean,
And they swear, man. Even to me, I thought I remembered advertisings for it.
Right,
And I'm
right.
like going, yeah. Oh, it's like Britney Spears and her microphone. You know how they have that microphone with her? Apparently that never happened.
She never had a headset microphone.
That's what I saw.
I don't know.
See, I don't know. We got to look it up.
Oh man,
It's one of those things, but how are we connected all that way? So, like I said, you're right about Bigfoot and stuff like that. You don't hear anybody talking about Bigfoot anymore.
Yeah,
Because you have your phone. Everyone's got their phone.
I took a blurry camera. I took a blurry picture. Those don't exist anymore.
I mean, I'm taking pictures of bears chasing me on trails.
Bernstein
Yeah,
bears.
yeah. And you have people like bobcats attacking them, but you can't find Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Bobcat Goldthwait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of us. Now, that would have been a visual to see all of us trying to prep.
We all kind of like stood up straighter.
Yeah. We're all prepping for the, the impersonation. That was pretty funny.
This is what I was looking up, like the idea of the changeling. We'll get back to robots in a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what the changeling thing is back in the old days?
It's when someone came up and said, "Hey, I'm hungry. Could I have some change, please?" That's
not bad. That's a fun term to use for beggars. But
is the changeling like somebody has a kid, but it's like not really their kid?
Yeah, and it's like, oh, like the changeling is fairies took your child and replaced it with a fairy duplicate.
Yeah.
And basically that's how they would rationalize when a child, like when they had
died or whatever.
neuroatypical things,
Gotcha.
like autism, because those symptoms don't show up until you're like 5.
Right.
Because it's like you can't see a baby and be like, yeah, that kid's
right.
He won't shut up about Star Wars, so they can't.
Right.
It's not obvious. So it is like, oh, your child must have been taken and replaced with this quirky fellow.
Yes.
Right.
And now, I don't know if they say like you were abducted by aliens now, but
well, that's actually what cuckoo birds do. They will put their own eggs.
Oh yeah.
And some other bird's nest and have that bird raise.
And then the bird will kick the other birds out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like just because being a
It's
bird
crazy.
should just be cool. And then that bird, they just have like a mafia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Maybe cockatoos are cool.
Cockatiels are the best.
And parrots are cool.
Yeah. If I was a millionaire, I would get a pet parrot. Mm-hmm. I would teach it,
I just saw a thing on TikTok where this guy had a parrot, and he has a security camera, and you hear the parrot going, "Help me, let me out." And they called the cops. Cops come. He had to bring out his parrot. And it's my parrot, dude.
That's a great cover story he came up with.
Oh, I know.
I'm going to teach him to say this.
Has a parrot ever been subpoenaed for a trial?
I think unless it was a joke, I saw a thing that said like a parrot was used as a witness.
Yeah.
Because it was repeating the thing in the guy's voice, and they're like, well, there's only one way it would do this is if you were there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then like this parrot like recorded its owner dying. So it was like screaming. So like they're like, oh, by this we were able to use it as a witness.
It's like the Alexas of the past.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now it's just your Google devices that will record you.
Yeah. Let's bring back the Flintstones, because now we can have parrots be like, hey Alexa, do this, and instead of Alexa, it's a bird now.
Oh, we could train birds to
Yabba-dabba?
speak for us into Alexa.
I saw a thing where like a bird like those things where like birds like learn that like what humans say can be used for. Like I saw one where like the parrot yelled for the dog to like sit, and the dog like sat, but he looked like confused and scared. That's my. I saw a video where it's like this guy was like, I'm gonna teach my raven to say nevermore, because ravens can like.
Yeah, they can speak.
But like he kept saying, he kept saying say nevermore.
Right.
So now it says say nevermore, and it's like you dumb.
And now that guy is haunted by a raven who always says, say nevermore. He's like, it's so close to Edgar Allan Poe, but it sounds lame.
And now he's haunted by his failures,
Yeah. Speaking of haunted by their failures.
Yes.
So, back to the book.
Yeah.
So, in the end, what I like that they were trying to revamp this other, I don't know, it's not an AI, a collective.
Right.
And the whole time I'm thinking, man, you still don't get it. You're worse than humans. You just keep on. So you're going to substitute one for another, instead of just doing it on your own. You still going to do that, which was kind of crazy.
Yes.
Right.
Now there is the spoiler about what the robot rebellion actually was about.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now are we ready to jump into that final talk?
Sure. Wah, spoiler alert.
That was almost like a boat horn.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it works.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler.
We were talking about parrots. That's why I went into my pirate voice.
And this was a reveal I really liked, which we're in spoilers, but you had enough warnings. Sure.
Yes.
That the robots were basically tricked into rebelling in the first place.
Yes.
Not only did
it was all BS.
Like, it's not even that all of them didn't even want to do it. The ones that did were doing it under false assumptions.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And like misled information.
Which is total humanity.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, like, the argument that the robot make, which it is fun, and this goes into a bit into the Fermi paradox, which is just if the universe is, like, super old and super big, there should be plenty of life forms out there capable of space travel by now. Because everything we did was in a 2,000 years or whatever.
Oh.
Even then, like, we were like the second cycle of life after dinosaurs. And that was, like, millions of years. So there should be, that, like, where are they? Right. And basically, one of these collectives was worried about that, and was like, "There must be other civilizations that will just completely eat us up the second they find us, unless we start making steps to prevent that."
Yes, I thought it was cool.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, overall, I think, this book really deals thoughtfully with a lot of issues that would come up. With AI and with things being human, all too human, despite the absence of humans. And so if you're interested in that kind of stuff.
To me, I think the thought process and him being a writer, it really comes out in stuff like that, where he really thought some of this stuff out and closed those holes that we would normally think of. Still by capturing, these robots now are acting more human than they are robots, but without certain kind of normal human attributes.
Right.
I thought it was great. And for me, I think I stumbled across this book, and like I said, it has to do with robots and end of the world. So you got me already, and I was really surprised on that. It turned out so well for me.
Yeah.
What about you, Cody?
I was really, and also it's a standalone story. This was a neat, pleasant read. There is a cowboy robot post-apocalypse story, and it's also like, oh yeah, you know what? I haven't thought of that before.
Yeah.
And this was very mentally fulfilling to listen to, where it's like I'm getting entertainment, and also I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, for me, I think overall, I think it was a good book for me. If I was going to, 10 out of, I'd probably go 8 out of 10 Rusty Springs for me.
Yeah, I would go 7 out of 10 slowly decomposing flesh substitutes.
I'll give it 3 out of 4 Clark's laws, Asimov's.
Oh.
Is that works?
Yeah.
With the RoboCop laws?
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. Well, there you have it, folks.
All right,
check
everybody.
it out if you want to. Don't if you don't. I got some comments here.
Yeah.
People.
Oh yeah.
Don't forget, people. Not only can you comment, we kind of need you to.
Yes.
And liking and subscribing and all that. We also have a Discord, and we're finally going up on audio only stuff. So
nice.
Now now we kind of did this in reverse. So there is like a backlog I need to like upload. But we've got like at least 20 up by now.
Wow.
So the rest will be there soon, and then maybe you don't even have to go on YouTube and waste your battery life anymore.
Oh, wow, that'd be nice.
You know what? Here's a comment that I think we can all get behind. This was on our Mistborn episode.
Oh, wow.
It's by Swallowtail. Came here for Volume 1. Now I'm excited more of Chapter 1 live from Saturn. Could there possibly be a Poppy War trilogy set of episodes? So I'm assuming there's a series called Poppy War.
Is that based on the actual opium wars between China and Britain, or?
I assumed it was some sci-fi thing.
Or the Puerto Rican one. Hey, Poppy.
All right. Well, there you go, Swallowtail. Rum Ham. He's a classic listener. I recognize you.
Oh,
guys.
okay.
Take note. I remember you. I really like you guys a lot. I think you would benefit a lot from figuring out your key demographic and focusing on that. Your videos seem all over the place lately, but I think once you find your niche and go along with that for a little while, people will be happy to follow any interest you have.
Oh.
True.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right now, the niche is nerd stuff.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, good point.
We need to go from
not everything's saying we're cool.
Right. No, we need to go from niche to however else pronounces it, niche. Right.
Frederick
Once we
Nietzsche.
get to the niche, we'll be okay.
Okay, so we're going to be reviewing books by Friedrich Nietzsche. Exclusively from now on? Is that?
Yeah.
Yes,
I
yes.
found my
Sorry, I
niche.
wasn't completely paying attention to that. Okay.
I saw that. Yeah.
No, and I let you guys know. I mean, when Cody and me left, well, when you split off from Volume 1, right? We kind of had different ideas with the podcast, and we're just kind of moving forward, and eventually we'll find exactly where we need to be, and right now we're just kind of having fun and seeing who follows us along.
Yeah,
Yep.
and because it's hard to tell. Because sometimes I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but then we do like the movie, the Everything Everywhere All at Once, that got more views, and people stayed longer for that than some of the book ones. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm also incredibly indecisive, and
Yes.
I'm willing to do anything.
Sure.
So it does me. The niche will come.
Yes.
Don't you worry.
Oh yeah.
It'll take a while.
Yeah.
Maybe just.
And it's tough. It's tough. I just like I said, started my own YouTube channel.
Oh, and
right?
what is that channel called?
Right now it's just called Drawing with MF3 Frank Perrine, and I'm doing not live drawing but drawing, and it's crazy because once you start getting mind screwed by the whole analytic thing, I should have never went into the analytic page. Never. I should have just stayed out. I should have stayed out of it because now it breaks it down to how long people watch, and then you start obsessing about it. Like, oh my gosh, that person only watched this, and I'm like, okay, I just need to ignore it.
Yeah, I've built up a healthy tolerance to comments. I still breathe in deeply every time before I check in comments because I am not a single negative one will really affect you. So I every time I'm like, okay, let's do this, and then I'm like, oh, you guys didn't watch the one I was really happy with. That's fine.
Well, I had some people because I've been doing okay, and then I had some people that have shows and stuff tell me, hey, you have your comments turned off.
Right.
So I'm like, why am I not getting anything negative? So maybe it's a good thing I have my comments turned off somehow. I don't know how to turn them on.
Yeah, they're mostly nice.
There you go.
I think that's
Okay.
I see that on channels sometimes. I assume they did that on purpose because I'll be watching like a clip from a kid's show, which I was doing because I have a kid, and I just see that the comments are turned off, and I'm always like, what happened in the comment section? Because I assume they must have
See, I don't even know how to turn it on.
I think do you label yourself as child friendly? Because I think if you do, they're like
I did on one of them.
I think if you do that, they disable comments.
So people don't see. It makes sense.
Yeah,
Your kid
because
doesn't see
we're
all
not
these
going to risk
cuss
anything.
word and all-
Literally
yeah.
anything. We're gonna.
Yeah.
They bring a good point is that you do all the artwork for these thumbnails.
I do.
And now the thing, and it is like you say you do those in like a couple of minutes.
Yeah, well, you saw I did that one that night, sent it to you, and you're like, hey, it's a girl. And I went in, and 5 minutes later, I'm sending it back. Here you go, dude.
Oh wow, you're like Sergio Aragonés in your speed.
What?
More like Aragonads. No, I don't know I don't even know who Gonades is.
I was for that. I'm glad that happened.
Oh, he was the guy who drew all the stuff in the margins of Mad Magazine. And stuff.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
No, I just always been kind of quick, and for me, I love doing the thumbnails for us. I feel bad because I've been clowning on him the last couple ones.
yeah.
I said I got to mix it up,
Oh,
you got the Beetle, you got this one, and then he's in the side
put
having wigs and towels and everything like that.
That's the fun I used to have doing, like, in my experience doing live action thumbnails. I would always pick one that would make me the butt of the joke because I thought that's just more enjoyable. It's always fun.
Sure.
We did a soccer once. It's like, what if it looks like the ball's hitting me?
Yeah. So right now, I just went live. I got 5 videos. I got 5 subscribers,
Nice.
but I haven't really actually promoted it or anything yet.
Yeah.
I'm still in the gallery in Laguna. Still in Upland Farmers Market selling stuff. You can go on my Threadless. my Instagram under Frank W. Perrine, and there's a Threadless link that you could buy shirts and all sorts of different things. And eventually, we're gonna get there too. So.
And I hang out at the pool at my apartment a lot. If you guys want to come on down, that's what I'm up to. A lot of moles been popping up in my body, but it's all worth it.
All right.
All right, Duncan, why don't you go ahead and close us out?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're getting a little rusty here, and so let's initiate the apocalypse, and that this podcast episode will be over now.
We're all shut down.